And WAGNN stands for
We ain't got no name.
We ain't got no name. We ain't got no name. We ain't got no name. No name.
Welcome back, everyone, to our weekly episode of WAGNN. Right now, we are up to episode 9.
9.
She zoomed in on that one. This episode, there's been a lot of controversy about this particular topic, and that's discipline. Discipline as it relates to children. How do you discipline? Are you supposed to discipline? And if you do discipline, what avenues can a parent use to discipline their child? Oftentimes, there are many misconceptions about discipline. Every child doesn't need the same type of discipline. Probably every parent shouldn't try to discipline.
Or at least not physically.
At least not physically. You're just not equipped. You're too angry. Okay? So with that being said, we're going to dive into this topic because we've been researching and we've been listening to the news, and we've heard a lot of stories about some children who have passed away at the hands of excessive disciplinary action. By no means are we saying that child abuse is okay. Not at all.
Definitely not.
Not at all. In this podcast, you're going to hear multiple ways of discipline, and it's not always a physical type of discipline. And then we also going to dive into
how I was disciplined.
We probably won't give any personal stories, but we've all been disciplined in many different ways, I think, and we can probably share some of our stories just to let the people out there know that discipline does work if it's done appropriately and for the right reason. So, guys, what are some of the ways that you've heard of, that you've seen, or even experienced? Who would like to share now?
Me.
Okay.
My father, he actually did not physically discipline me or my sister because he was always like, I'm a man and I can break your back.
Right.
So my father's a tall guy, whatever. He has real big hands. So he named his hand Hand. And so if I did anything wrong, he would look at me and be like, do you want Hand?
What would you say?
No. I would stop instantly stop doing whatever I was doing. My mother did the counting.
Right.
1, 2, 3, and I would stop. My sister, that didn't work because my mother would do the counting 1, 2, 3, and my sister would go 4, 5, 6. So that didn't work. But there were times where I've done stuff and I might have had to get it might have had to rough me up a little bit. But that was extreme. That was when I was doing something I had no business doing. Like, I grossly stepped out of line. Like, you know, like, we don't even need to have a conversation because you know what you did.
Right.
Like, that's what you know.
You know you were wrong.
You know. It was like, all right. I knew I was getting what I was getting.
Absolutely. And children have the know-how. We don't give children enough credit. They may be, at different ages, but they do understand things on their level, and you have to speak to them on their level. But before we go into that, what do you think? Would you like to share?
My disciplinary, when I was growing up, I really didn't. My dad definitely was not the one to do the discipline. My mom was more on that, the one to lay the rules down.
Right.
I mean, I never really got whippings like that because all she had to do was just give me the look.
Right.
My mother had the look. I mean, to the point where it felt like she was piercing through your soul. Even if you wasn't looking at her, you can feel
felt it
the
in your
eyes.
back.
Yes, just piercing where you looking like, all right already, gosh. But I do remember being a little girl growing up. Like, if I did something out of line and my dad had to, give me a rap upside my head is what he called it. I felt like I was the worst child in the world because I made daddy upset. And you ain't supposed to make daddy upset. But it's a lot of different things. Growing up, I was somewhat a little sneaky child, but when it caught up to me, my mother definitely laid the smack down, like, you ain't going here, there, or anywhere. How about that? And you just can't, what you gonna say?
Right. Yeah. I think like you ladies, my father didn't physically discipline me either. That disappointed look was enough for me. And my mother, on the other hand,
it's always the mothers.
I can count on one hand how many times she had to physically discipline me.
Me
but
too.
One I remember was because my mother worked at night for part of my childhood, I didn't get a chance to hang out with my friends on the block. So I cherished that time.
Right.
Playing double dutch, running up and down the block, playing football with the kids. So one week it was revival. And it fell on one of the days that I thought I was supposed to be home, but I had to go to church. And she called me out. Come on, come get washed up. We got to go to church. And I was like, I don't want to go to church. I don't feel like going. She said, get in here and get ready for church. And I was like, all right, fine. So I go up the porch steps. But I wasn't just walking. I was stomping because sister was
Attitude.
to go see Jesus. I was mad. So I go up
You
the
was
steps.
getting ready to see Jesus.
Ooh, I saw him. I'm about to tell you what he looked like for a minute because I came back like Lazarus, okay? So I'm stomping through the house and I'm getting ready to take my shower. And then I slam the door and I'm like, sure, I don't want to go to church. And as soon as those words came out, I don't want to go to church, the door flew open. Now, mind you, I was about to take a shower, so you understand the state I was in. She ragtagged me up.
Yeah.
She ragtagged me, and I gotta say I deserved it because one, in my house, you're not allowed to stomp up and down the house. On the floor, you're not allowed to slam doors in the house. You guys can agree with that. That is a sure way for an invitation for some discipline. And boy, did I get it. I sat in church
With your
like
head
a
slapped in
quiet.
between the dresser and your bed. Yeah.
So, certain rules, you just can't break in the house because in our culture, it showed that you were being too grown.
Right.
You weren't acting your age. So, we caught it. Now,
Wait, I shot something that I realized.
you got one? You remember?
Got in my opinion, she tried to prove to me that she can take my life.
Oh,
And it was an accident. I didn't even
Right.
do anything really wrong. Like, okay, I got crazy at the mouth in front of my friends. Like, real crazy.
you tried to embarrass
I tried
her.
to embarrass.
Oh.
Like, I'm not going inside. Like, getting crazy. And I was like, maybe like 13, 14.
Ooh, child, you was smelling yourself.
she sure did.
She came up to hit me and I blocked. But in her mind, I didn't block. In her mind, I hit back.
Ooh, child.
This woman picked me up by my neck.
You should see her mother.
Now, I'm a smooth like 5'5", 5'6". She's all maybe 5 feet.
Maybe.
I saw Jesus.
You saw him?
I saw Jesus. I saw a Biggie.
Did you see Abraham too?
Malcolm X.
You saw them
I
all.
saw Abraham. I saw everybody.
Right.
All I remember, I don't know what happened in between time. I remember just waking up in the bed, like waking up the next day in my bed.
So for the listeners, she went to go take a nap.
Yeah.
But the better question is, did you learn something from
What?
it?
Now, I just be quiet. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Just be
Right.
quiet. Just be quiet.
My mother ain't play that neither.
And I was like, till this day, I will say that I was trying to block you. You shouldn't have been blocking me. I'm supposed to just get hit? Yeah.
I got snuffed one time for getting smart. A quick jab. Bow. I was like, oh, huh? What happened? Quick jab.
Don't go to my grandmother though. You fall down the steps, you getting beat.
Listen,
It's like you trip. Oh, you shouldn't have been running down the steps. I tripped.
it doesn't even matter in our households, as you will hear, that the age didn't matter. I caught it at 24 over a mini skirt with my money, a trip I paid for, and I was going to Miami to Flores. And I'm showing my mother, look, Mom, look what I got. Look at my skirt. Ah. She was like, yeah, you're not wearing that. I said, what you mean I'm not wearing my mini skirt? She said, just what I said. You're not wearing that. I said, but it's going to be cute on me. You know, she was like, when you travel, you go looking classy. You don't go looking like, I won't say the other word. And I was just like, nah, for real. I'm going. There's nothing you can say.
Bye.
And I'm bringing my skirt. Swap! I was like, oh! I'm holding the left-hand side of my face. 24 out of her house. I still caught it. And I gave her the skirt to take back to the store. 24.
Like, you got it. It's yours.
Okay? And my mother, she's fast. So I didn't see things coming when she was giving it. So I learned, as we all learn, not to play with the madres. No. We're not playing with her. So we're saying all of this to say that there is a place for discipline. Discipline does play a part in children's lives in correcting behavior, but we also want to let the parents know that there are ways to do it. Now, some people may not feel comfortable with physical discipline, with spanking, and that's okay. Some people may feel more comfortable with a timeout, but you can't put a 13-year-old on timeout if they've never been disciplined before or timeout. You're too late for that.
Yeah.
Okay? How young can you discipline a child? And I'm not talking specifically about physical abuse, whether it's telling them, no, you should not do that, or you're just correcting behavior. How young do you think?
To what y'all say? Y'all parents, you say what's 24 months?
24 months?
Well, I have a 2-year-old. I started the minute he started showing me that he understood what he was doing. So it's like, I kind of feel bad because, yes, I know he's in the process of learning new things. But at the same time, it's like, I try to be careful with how I'm disciplining him. I don't want to make him scared of me, but at the same time, I want him to understand what he's doing is wrong. And then another side to that is, I don't want to let it go and make him think that it's okay to just do whatever he wants to do. And I feel like it needs to start now than at 10. Because once it starts now, it's easier it's not easy to bend a grown tree, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. You better say that one more time.
It's not easy to bend a grown tree.
You got to bend a young branch, a
young branch.
A young tender plant.
Yeah,
you got to start from young. And I feel like once you start from young and they understand where you're coming from, then everything else should fall into place as time moves on. Is how I look at it.
I've seen it as young as 9 months. Now, it also depends on the maturity of the child.
Right.
What did a 9-month-old do?
Okay, I'm going to tell you what my nephew did. One of them. He's a grown boy now. However, I remember in our apartment, we had bought this new carpet. I'm laughing about it now because it's so funny. But we bought this new carpet. And my nephew took a bag of crushed up Cheetos and dumped it out intentionally on the carpet. Brand spanking new. I only vacuumed it because we just brought it home. New.
Right.
So we go, you need to pick those up. Those cheese doodles up. You know, in his own way. He was walking.
Oh, okay.
You know, so he was a mature 9-month-old, right? So he's not like, wah, can't do anything. So he looked at his uncle with 2 eyes like, you expect me to pick all this up?
You do it.
And his uncle said, pick it up. And he brought him to the cheese doodles and had him and modeled it. You pick it up, you put it in the bag. Now you do it. And at first he was like, no. And the uncle went over and did it again and said, now you do it. He cried again. Uncle went back and said, you are going to pick up these cheese doodles and you're going to put it in the bag. Now, was a carpet spotless? No, right? Because we got to take into account he was about 9 months. So he did do the action of putting the cheese doodles back in the bag. Now, here's the kicker. He went to his uncle and hugged him. He cried about the cheese doodles. He felt out about the cheese doodles. But because the uncle continued to model the behavior and wouldn't let it go until he learned to pick up the cheese doodles, what was mind-blowing is that he went up to him and gave him a hug. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't leave his side for the rest of the night. You know what I mean?
I take that as he didn't want to upset him anymore.
He didn't want to upset him anymore. But also like, all right, thanks.
Yeah, I got it.
You know what I mean? And that's how children learn. When you model the behavior, and this is what we're going to talk about, how to discipline children appropriately. You have to model the behavior that you want them to do. And you also have to talk to your children. You can't just come around and just start hitting kids and putting them in timeout and they have no idea.
Right. That don't even work for every child.
It sure
doesn't.
don't.
It don't work.
It doesn't.
Yelling don't even work for every. You yell at me, it's not gonna work.
Well, that comes with knowing your children. And if you're in tune to your child from the very beginning and paying attention to their development, you would notice what worked. Like for my boys, my eyes work and counting work. Now, counting work with the eldest.
It's always the youngest. It's always
that
the youngest.
Baby,
because I'm telling you, my sister start counting along.
He counted
That's
too.
how we knew she could
He did count. Because I was like 5, 4. He's like 3, 2, 1. I was like, that is not what I needed you to do. However, now this is how I modeled what one looked like. The older brother was getting in trouble. And I said, all right, 5. I'm not playing with you guys. They still playing. 4. Keep it up. 3, 2. Then I had to show the eldest what 1 looked like. It shocked the youngest. He was like, oh, snap. So, this is what happens when you get to 1? So now when I count, because now they older, I can start at 3. They scramble to get to where they got to go. And I've never had to get to 1 ever again. And that was the end of it. Now, when I speak, they listen. Just like how your mothers, when they speak, you listen.
Exactly.
Because
even if I don't feel like listening.
Even if we don't feel like, you think they feel like it all the time? No. But they better.
Even if you got 2 now. Just be like,
Just do it. So let's discuss about appropriate ways to discipline. Because there are different ones. We talked about a few, like a timeout. When should a person use a timeout? Or do you think you guys would use timeouts when you have a child, and then with your child? Do you think you use a timeout?
I don't think a timeout will work with my little one, because he looks at me like and get up anyway, because I tried it the other day. Like go sit in the couch. He went and sat in the couch for all of 2 seconds, and after that I went and put him in the couch. No, he got back up and was walking around, coming up to me, asking questions, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I can't get mad because he's little, you know what I mean?
Right.
But as time goes on, he know what the look like, though.
Oh,
because I started that. Like, he did something, and I just gave him the look, and I was staring him down, and it's like he was trying to duck.
Right.
He was trying to hide. He was trying to lay down, and you see him looking out the corner of his eye like, is she still looking at me?
Right.
Gosh, why don't she stop looking at me already? You know, and then he trying to have conversation because I'm staring now like, you know why I'm looking at you like this.
Right.
Then when I do the talking, like if my octaves go up a little bit high, I'll come back around. I'll put, hey, look at me. Do you know why mommy is yelling and screaming? Explain to him why mommy's yelling and screaming. Do we understand each other? Yes, mommy. Now, whether he's yes, mommy, and because I don't know.
Right.
But does he do what I've been disciplining, what I disciplined him about? He doesn't do it anymore. Or if he goes back to do it, he'll stop.
He'll think about it.
And look at me. Like, can she see me?
Because they're smart.
Kids are smart.
We don't give them
the stance
credit.
of the pluck works too. You don't have to pluck them,
yeah,
but
the
the
pluck.
look of the pluck, they walk away, they sidestep away.
Right.
Well, what's that? No.
Or the talking through the teeth. Talking through the teeth. You better sit down. Y'all hear that?
That's the church. That's the church one. That's the church discipline.
You better sit down before I pop.
You better sit down.
Sit down. That.
So those are ways too. The talking between your teeth.
Timeout.
Go ahead.
Timeout work for some kids. Timeout. My parents didn't do timeout. I think I got on like timeout once when I was in like pre-K at school. That wasn't effective because I fell asleep and Shorty loves a nap. So I was just like, you gonna put me in this corner? Guess what I'm gonna do?
Sleep.
All right.
And that defeats the whole purpose of a timeout.
But you know what they also did when I was in pre-K? They would make you hold books. Stick your arms out and hold textbooks.
Oh, that's
called
military style.
corporal punishment now.
That's military style.
You know, you can't do that. This was way back in the early 90s. You can't do that anymore, I don't think, in schools. That right there, because I still don't have no upper body strength. That right there, yeah, nah.
Right.
Nah, I ain't doing nothing.
So it is safe to say that for age-appropriate children and only, the parents, you would have to gauge what is considered age-appropriate for your child. Because I agree, timeout for a toddler, it may or may not work because they don't understand the fact of sitting still like that, and they shouldn't have to sit still like that. But once they move into school age, you can use a timeout. And how my wagon partner put it, after the child was placed on the couch, the child got up, so on and so forth. But see, in her situation, that probably wasn't an age appropriate for her, right? Because she's saying it didn't work for her, and that's fine.
Little,
but for 5 on up, if the child is placed in a seat and they get up, you are to go to that child, eye level, express to them what they did wrong, and put them back. If they get up again, there's no more discussions. You go get them and you put them back. Even if you have to do a relay race for about an hour and a half, you do the relay race for an hour and a half because now you're in the thick of things and you can't get beat because the children are banking on beating you.
But
exactly.
But I think the exception with that is like if with certain developmental disabilities, like if you have a child on the spectrum or something, like they're not going to some disabilities they're not going to understand that form discipline.
Right.
Some are just not going to be receptive to that discipline, and you will literally wear yourself out trying to discipline a child that don't understand.
Well, yes, that's a very good point, and I thank you for bringing that out because each child is different, whether they have a disability or not. Each child respond to different things. Sometimes there's some children that all you need to do is say it to them one time, and they're fine with it.
That was me.
They'll take it. Some children don't need to learn from other people's experiences. They'll just take your word for it. Me too.
Also me.
You got to tell me twice. Nope. All right. So there are appropriate ways. However, you get to choose. I would say research different ways of discipline. You can talk to family members about what has worked. If you're not experienced. Okay, some family members.
I'm like,
are we talking about our own family members?
Yeah, I'm about to say I ain't going. I love them to death, but I ain't going to none of them.
Family members that can understand what we're talking about.
I ain't going to not one of them because they all got the same method.
Okay, so don't talk to our family members about it. But
right.
If you have some family members who are knowledgeable in raising children, definitely you can reach out to them or research. Watch The Nanny. That's a good one.
With Fran Drescher?
The lady from London?
Oh. Oops.
No, not that nanny. The super nanny. Oh. I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
I'm like, really?
I was wondering why you was looking at me like that. I was like, oh, not her. Super nanny.
It's a good
the
show.
Super nanny. No, I haven't even seen it.
It's really good.
Not watching
hilarious.
it. I'll take your word for it. But the super nanny also have some pretty good techniques, and I've seen timeout implemented appropriately on school age children. And I've seen other techniques where the super nanny had to get downright gangster with the children and or letting the parents know that they're doing their children a disservice. So let's talk about that. How sometimes as parents we can do our children a disservice with our disciplinary methods.
Like verbal abuse?
Oh.
Because sometimes the
one.
things that you tell these children, it sticks with them. You may think that you're disciplining, you know what I mean? But at the same time, but are you hurting their feelings or making them feel a certain type of way? Because words are powerful.
They are.
You know what I mean? The saying, sticks and stones may break my bones. No, words hurt.
They do, especially coming
And
from
they
a caregiver.
cut deep, you know what I mean? And depending on the age of the child, you have to be very careful about what you're saying and how you're saying it, because it can come across a different way and they can take it a different way and feel a different way. And then that sets up the whole scene for something else, a different type of behavior
Wow.
to start taking place.
She dropping jewels
You know
tonight.
what I mean? So you got to be careful with how you discipline. I try to be very careful with how I discipline, because I don't want my kid to be scared of me at the same time.
Right.
But he needs to understand and know that mommy runs things, not you. You know what I mean? That's just my whole take on it. You got to be very careful with how you speak to them and the words that you use to speak to them.
So let's throw out some examples of how our language can be more harmful.
So I see this happen. This happens a lot with school-age children doing homework at night. You have a math problem. The kid don't get it,
The parents probably
or
don't
they
either.
know how they or they do know it. They're just tired,
Right.
Because sometimes that happens too. Kids
Yes.
are just tired, so
Yes.
it's just like they just don't.
Yes.
They just get lazy. They conking out. Brain shuts down. So you're screaming at them.
Do your homework.
What is 5 + 7? Are you stupid?
Yeah,
What is
see?
5? It's
Yeah,
like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the one losing control? You demonstrating that you don't know how to control yourself.
Or do math.
Well, that could be.
Because
Let me tell you something, because
that
that's
should have
true.
took place at 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Right.
Not at 9, 10 o'clock doing homework.
Because I know for me, I was like,
I got a problem with that,
I
too.
always did my homework late because I was involved in a whole bunch of stuff all the time.
Get it?
But once I got to a certain age, my parents was like, I can't scream at you. This is the reality of this. I don't know where we at. I'm frustrated because I'm real frustrated because I don't know what this means. Let me tell you when it happened with my father. I was having trouble in like 7th grade with some math. We doing some equations. And my father's up with me and we arguing over the multiplication dot.
The dot?
The dot. Because my father was like, that is a decimal? I'm like, that's a multiplication dot. That means multiply. That is a decimal? There's no going back and forth. You know what? I'm done helping you. Don't ask me to help you no more. I am done. I'm taking you as far as I can go because I don't know what a multiplication dot is. I didn't learn that. I learned that was a decimal in school. I'm done.
So now we're talking about how a disconnect in, oh my gosh, a disconnect in education between
Generations.
two different generations.
And how that can cause frustration.
That can cause conflict within the family.
Yeah.
Let's discuss. We ain't talk about that. Okay, all right.
So
Let's
to be
not
that,
go.
but because you're tired and you want to go to sleep,
Right.
you're frustrated that your
Right.
kid can't do the homework. It's like
Right.
the baby is tired. I mean, especially if they're like kindergarten, pre-K, kindergarten, they got some homework, they tired. Write a note to the teacher. My baby was tired. I'm sorry, and so was I.
Or, and I've said this before, when you have children, you have to, it is always good to be flexible with time, because once you have children, your children takes priority. And then once they reach school, their education takes priority. So making sure that they have an ample place to work where it's well lit, and whichever way they work best, the parent is supposed to support the child to be able to do that. So one, I understand the challenge with being of a different generation and being taught things one way, and then seeing how things are. My sons clown me now, and I do not claim to be a mathematician, but I'm not
Common
dumb.
Core.
Ooh, Common Core.
That Common
I got
Core.
it together, okay? But he showed me some of that mathematics. I said, listen, go see your father, because I don't know. I felt the way about it, because when you do the distributive property, come see your mother. If it's nothing else pertaining to that, I can't help you. You know, that's where my brain stopped with algebraic equations. But anyway, as my WAGNN partner said, you know, there are frustrations that come out even when doing homework. And we're talking about verbal abuse. There's another one that I've heard. Oh, you're going to be just like your blank blank mother or your blank blank father, daddy, or something like that. And that doesn't create a healthy environment for a child, especially if you're let's do this. Just because you think your children are sleeping, your children aren't asleep. They hear everything that's going on. So when you say that particular comment, they know that their mommy or their daddy is a learn down dirty dog because you said it.
Right.
They know that mom isn't a good mom because somebody has said it and they've heard it. They've overheard it. They may not heard it from your mouth directly, but somebody has spoken about it or spoken about their parent in a negative nature. That is also unhealthy for a child. So if you're saying or spewing things like that out of frustration, exactly, towards your child, that is considered verbal abuse. Okay?
You're not even supposed to, okay,
do it.
Psychology, mental health, like that's what, and when you do parenting courses, they tell you you're actually not supposed to raise your voice. You're not supposed to yell at your children because that shows that you lost control in that moment. And what does that teach the child?
Right.
When you lose control in a moment, don't control your emotions, yell.
Right. I think I might have to agree with that because I see that playing out.
Right.
I've
seen it because I'm a yeller.
Me
but
too.
then when I speak very calmly, then they get scared.
And that's the thing about it. I think because my grandmother is a yeller, my mom, my parents aren't. My father's side of the family, they weren't yellers. That's something different.
Yeah.
But my mother, she's not a yeller. If she yells, that means you pushed her to the limit.
The line, yeah.
She's not a yeller because my grandmother was a yeller. On the flip side, my uncle is a yeller.
Yeah.
And a yeller at the minor stuff.
Right.
Kids love him. Kids love my uncle to death.
Yes, they do.
He will yell at you if you don't get in the pool and learn how to swim. He will yell at you for not getting on a roller coaster. He will scare you into doing these things by yelling at you and threatening to physically discipline you. And it works for most kids because they'll throw you in the pool. And it'll work because they'll end up in the pool or on a roller coaster.
Right.
That was effective for every child that's ever encountered him. Except me. I'm the only child that never worked on. I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna call my parents and I'm going home because I don't tolerate this. You're not going 7. Yeah, you're not going to yell at me to get in the pool. After that, I never went to a Six Flags with him. I never went to a pool with him because you can't do that to me.
Right.
And I'm literally, and for everyone else, it worked. I'm the only child that did not work on. Because I shut down from being yelled at.
Right. And that's important to say because that's just what we're getting at is knowing your child and treating them according to who they are, you know, their personality. So with my WAGNN partner over here, yelling didn't work. Not to say that yelling didn't have a place, you know, but there was like,
it needed to be reasonable. You can't yell at me for not getting in the pool and going on a roller coaster. However, you can yell at me. My mother can yell at me for flat out for talking back or not doing what she's asked me to do after she asked me multiple times.
Right. So the word I was looking for, progression.
Right.
There should be a progression of discipline. So when you're disciplining your child, the first action shouldn't be the most extreme. We have to build to the extreme because we also have to give children the opportunity to make mistakes,
to figure it out too,
because they're exploring depending on the age that they're in. So to the extreme, like straight off the bat, take your time. It's also okay to think of a plan as to how you're going to discipline. Write it out. You know, first step, he gonna go in or she gonna go in timeout. Second step, they might get yelled at. Third step, now you got to go to your room. Fourth step, you might get a spanking. You know what I mean? But the first step should not look like the last step.
But that's interesting because I've had a client who came to me because of how they discipline their children publicly and at home. And it always goes to yelling and making threats. But the problem with that is now he continues to do it. And the issue is now he has like a 10-year-old and a teenager, and they don't take him seriously when he's yelling, because it's like, okay, this is what you do.
Right.
He's like, I don't understand. They take my wife seriously because the wife, it's a progression. For him, all right, you're going to yell, you'll stop yelling and whatever.
Right. They learn you.
They learn.
Like,
right.
Just like you trying to learn them. Exactly.
Exactly.
And then I've also seen I think you also have to tailor your discipline towards age.
Yes, you do.
It might work where you can pop your kid. I've seen it happen a lot with boys, where you can pop your son and do all of that stuff until they hit teenage years, and now they look like grown men. Okay, so now my father's putting his hand. So now they fighting.
Yeah.
So now you got a father and son fighting. I've seen that happen all the time. And here's the issue with that: most of the time, these sons can beat their fathers up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if the father's been on the couch eating cheese balls.
Yeah. Or crack.
We ain't promoting that it's all right for children to put their hands on their father. Or children to put their hands on their parents, period.
Yeah, you know.
You're right. I think I am over this.
We are not promoting that.
We're not promoting it, not at all. Turn off
But
the
I
microphone.
definitely get it. I definitely get where she's coming from.
Right.
Because when you're a teenage boy at that, you start to smell yourself like, oh, yo, who this dude think he is? And females alike. You know what I'm saying? Because I tried it and got snuffed.
Did I tell you about the story when I was 24?
Got snuffed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But every child goes through that where they try their parents. You know what I mean? But if the parent is good, you try it one time and never do it again.
Or one technique I've used was the ignoring technique. And my mother used the ignoring technique on me, and it hurt so bad. Okay, her technique looks a little bit different from mine. My mother wore a belt around her neck, and she didn't talk to me. And I knew that.
That's scary.
It was. I didn't talk to her, though, until the belt came off.
Right.
That's how I knew it was okay to speak to mama. But while that belt was on, I knew she was still upset with me. So I just would peek into the kitchen like, Mommy, what you doing? She'd be like, you know what I'm doing? Now I'm looking to see if she got the belt on. She still had the belt hanging around her neck. So I was like, all right, now, right now. And then I would keep peeking at her to see when she'd take it off. And then I knew she had calmed down and she was good. That was my telltale sign. She didn't necessarily use the belt, but the belt had a symbol.
It represented,
It represented something. So my ignoring technique, I don't use a belt. I just don't talk to them. And I tell them, I said, listen, right now, it's not a good time for mommy to talk to you. Because if I talk to you right now, I'm going to talk to you out of anger, and I love you so much, I'm not going to do that. So I need you to go somewhere away from me. I prefer you going upstairs to your room and leave me alone until I can calm down. Because I can be a little hothead. And as we discussed, disciplining in anger doesn't work. That's how people get in trouble.
Yep.
And I know better, so I don't. And I
that's
just
our thing.
send them over to the room. Don't talk to me because I need to settle my nerves and calm down. And also figure out what I'm going to say to you so it can be effective.
Yeah.
Because if you talk out of anger, it could escalate into something else and turn into some serious abuse. Because you don't know how to control
Turn into
yourself.
Sky and Des.
Or that case in California.
Or that. Yep. Gabriel.
Poor baby.
Poor baby. It can.
Rest in peace, sweetheart. And a lot of cases that we've seen where, and we talked about this in other podcasts with blended families and having that conversation about discipline, you know, if you're not the biological parent. I mean, you're not even married to the mother or the father, and people are being allowed to discipline these children.
It's not even blended families. It's like where do you go with the limits of discipline when you are taking them to other family members?
Absolutely.
Like, do you let other family members physically discipline your child? And, you know, I know for me, I love my family. There's certain children, if once I have kids, there's certain places they just can't go to until a certain age where I'm not there.
Oh, that's straight off the bat. Yes.
You do. If I didn't feel comfortable with you yelling at me, nah, you can't do that to them.
Right. Absolutely.
Because I know where you could go.
Absolutely. And that goes into safety, you know, and we talked a little bit about boyfriends and girlfriends disciplining children, you know, and then we also talk about family members. You do have to be careful of as to who you allow to discipline your child, because there are some people that does not know how to do it properly. And it doesn't mean you have to take a class or anything like that. You still have to care and love a child. And if you care and love a child, you're not going to hurt them, or at least you're going to take the time out to make sure you check your emotions so you don't hurt them, because we're bigger than them. We can hurt them. What we consider a pop is a boom, boom, bam, you know, to them. And you have to be cognizant. You have to be aware of these factors.
Honestly, for me though, I was always like, listen, please, just hit me, because I don't feel like hearing you talk, and I don't want you to take my TV away. Like, you can just hit me, and I'll go in my room and cry while I'm watching Looney Tunes.
So moving forward, because you guys touched upon something that was really important, right? You and I, we have smaller children, but I also have a budding teenager. And how I discipline my 8-year-old, I can't do that for my preteen.
Right.
Two different things. And this is my belief. I think once a child reaches 12, 13, you shouldn't be hitting them anyway. I don't think you should be.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless there are some things.
There are some circumstances that mine will catch it, you know? There are some circumstances where you may have to do some physical discipline.
And I think that has to be extreme. Like, you're doing something that can put you in danger.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, again, stealing a car. You're just wilding out in school. Like, you have to be doing something that's putting
How about
you in danger.
you not coming home?
Yeah.
Oh, you gonna catch it in this house.
Yeah.
Or you not telling me where you going, and you think you have the freedom to go wherever you want without communicating. You can catch it in my house for that. Or don't give me that phone when I tell you to give me the telephone.
Okay, here's one. He snuck a girl in the house. What you doing?
I'm going to get him, but his father may not.
Okay.
His father probably going to get him and discipline him, but
I'm saying that because
dap him up later.
People are real flexible with boys when it comes to
They
that.
are.
Yeah.
I'm catching it because I don't want anyone in the house. And because I have boys and you sneak a girl in, I have to let my sons know, listen, girls do lie. And if she says that you did something to her in your house, that's a whole nother can of beans. So the discipline is coming not because I don't necessarily trust you per se. Well, at this point, I probably don't. But it's for the protective notion of you getting in substantial trouble, you know, with the law.
Right.
To me, you gonna catch it for that.
But I've always, I hear a lot of people say, I know my father has said that because of what he does. He's like, if you don't discipline your child, the law will. The cops will discipline if you don't discipline your child. Like, that's the worst thing you can do is just let your children run amok.
Right.
Ignore.
I agree with that.
Being in denial.
I definitely agree with that.
And guess what? The cops are going to physically discipline them.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And you can't say a thing about it.
Then they're going to get locked up and the inmates going to physically discipline them.
And you can't do a thing about it. If you don't have no money for a lawyer, your child going to be sitting up in there. So it's better to discipline at an early age. And again, we're not necessarily talking about physical. You can talk to your child, and that's discipline.
But I think that's the key with discipline. There needs to be a conversation.
It has to be
unless it's, again, for my case, where the times that I was physically disciplined, there was no conversation because I knew. Right. Matter of fact, I knew right after I did what I did. Like, oh,
right.
Well, I know where this is going.
Right.
Before my parents had a clue of what was going on, I was like, oh, I know what I'm walking into. I know. But for the most part, there needs to be a conversation because I think that with discipline comes learning. Yes. They do go hand in hand. Yeah. If you're going to discipline, you have to have the conversation. One can't go without the other. And it doesn't, you can discipline, have the conversation. The conversation, discipline, and have another conversation. The main thing is that you want your children to know that you love them. And children, they seek out discipline, if you will. Like,
I've seen children upset with their parents because their parents don't discipline.
Right.
And they'll give the parents who do discipline their children more respect in their own children because they see that as an act of love.
Right.
You're paying attention to what I'm doing.
There's been a time where an old family friend's daughter came to my mom and said she wishes that my mom was her mom.
Wow.
Because of how she parented me and my sister.
Wow.
And then here's the other thing with the whole discipline aspect of stuff. I think, in my opinion, when it comes to discipline, right and wrong is real cut and dry. So if you're disciplining your kid, it's because they did something wrong, and it's real cut and dry. Disciplining your child because you don't like their character, and not that it's a matter of the character is right or wrong, something you see in them is right or you don't like who they are turning out to be because of your own biases, stereotypes of feelings.
Neglect.
That's not discipline. You can't you can't discipline your child if you think your child is gay. That's not discipline. You're abusing your child.
That is not discipline. We're going to say that again.
That's not discipline.
You cannot beat the homosexuality out of your child.
That's not discipline. That's abuse.
That is abuse.
You can't discipline your child because they choosing to do a career path or something. They're trying to go a different direction than you want them to go. That's not detrimental to them. Like, I've heard of high schoolers getting beat because they're like, I don't want to choose this route for college. I don't want to choose this. What do you mean? Or I don't want to go to college.
Right.
So I'm laying a smack down on you because I don't want to go to college. Be thankful you ain't got to waste your money because they're going to drop out.
Exactly. I think a lot of the times parents tend to have a preconceived notion of what they want their child to be. I want them to be this. They're going to go to school here. They're going to do this and they're going to do that. And then when they don't, you sitting there looking like Boo Boo the Fool.
Right.
Your child is a whole individual by themselves.
Angry at your child.
You know what I mean? Like, give them room to be themselves. They are not you.
Right.
They are not you. You can have 5 different kids. Every single last child has a different personality, and they are not you.
Absolutely.
All you have to be responsible for is making sure that you're raising a proper human being to navigate this crazy world that we live in.
Right.
They need to learn survival techniques of how to survive this world and navigate this world. They're not you. They're not their father.
Nope.
They're none of that. They are an individual. Treat them that way.
Right.
They don't want to go to school to be this. Let them do what they want to do as long as they're not killing themselves. What is it to you?
Right.
How you mad because your child don't want to become a doctor when you a CNA?
Like
what?
But
How you
exactly.
mad? Why are you mad?
Exactly. I think a lot of people just have all these different hang-ups. Sometimes you turn the child off.
Right.
With unreasonable expectations.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you stress the child out to the point it's like, oh my gosh, if I don't do what my mother want me to do, or I don't do what my parents want me to do, and then your child end up on drugs. What you gonna do then? Or what you gonna say then? You stressing them out to the point where it's like, let them be kids.
Right.
Let them enjoy their senior year in high school.
Oh, snap.
Matter of fact, that reminds me of someone. Like, no, you can't go to prom and you can't.
That's
like,
just absolutely
what you
ridiculous.
mean you can't go? Because you don't need to be around boys. She gonna be around boys anyway.
And here we
then now she's sneaking off, doing some things that a lot of adults don't even do.
Okay, turning tricks all over the place, and then you have no,
and
not
you ain't got
my
no
baby.
idea.
You have no idea.
Busting it open in the staircase at school.
Spreading it wide.
Laying a little spreading it wide for 2 and 3 men at the same time.
Ooh,
And a lot of that comes to putting too much pressure on a child.
But that's another thing. People disciplining their kids, their teenage kids, for having sex instead of having a conversation with them and telling them what to do.
Exactly.
Because you shouldn't be doing it, so I'm going to discipline you.
Yeah, but you need to have a conversation.
You need to have a conversation because it's done. Because it's done.
And it's not going to stop.
And they're not going to stop. So have a conversation.
Exactly.
They just not going to tell them. They just not going to tell you. And what's going to happen is they're going to come home with a baby or an STD.
Ooh.
And then what you going to do? Beat them?
Right.
You know
kick
what I'm
them
saying?
out.
Or kick them out.
Come
Right.
on.
That's not going to help.
Have a conversation.
Right. So within this podcast, we hope that you received our message about discipline, appropriate ways to discipline, and we just want to leave you with this. In New York State, New York State law and penal law states that parents can physically discipline their child. But we're going to read the definition so it is clear. So parents, don't hide behind, I can't discipline my child because they're going to call ACS, CPS, DFSS, all of them on you.
But also don't be like, oh, I can use it, so therefore I can beat them to the white meat.
All right. So we're gonna define what is appropriate versus what is inappropriate based on the law.
So this is for the state of New York. I can't really help y'all in the other states or countries. I'm sorry. So New York Penal Law 35.10. The law states a parent, guardian, or person entrusted with the care and supervision of a person under the age of 21, meaning that if you're 18, 19, 20, still in that household, you can get it too, can use physical force, but not deadly force upon such person when and to the extent that he reasonably believes it's necessary to maintain discipline or promote the welfare of such person. So it's very broad, but reasonable and no deadly force. Reasonable. That means open hand, ain't no bruises.
That means you should not be cold cock punching your child in the eye, hitting them in the head. That was a rule in my house. Nobody can hit you in the head.
Let me tell you something. If you do anything from the chest up in the state of New York, that can be considered attempted murder because that's all vital organs.
Did you hear that?
I hope y'all did.
All right. So
all
again,
your vital organs is from the waist up.
children should not have bruises or marks on their bodies at all. At all. You shouldn't be ramming, hitting people's heads against walls. Nothing like that. We're getting a little graphic because it's serious.
No objects.
No objects.
No switches.
Really no switches now?
Nah, you can't use a switch.
Wow. Times have changed.
You can't use a switch. Because that'll leave.
It will leave a mark, but did that code just start? Because we had switches now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No switches. That was painful.
Yeah, sure was.
Okay. So you kind of get the gist of what we're saying. No deadly force, no types of hits that can cause your child bodily harm or to cause any type of bruises. So like my WAGNN partner said, open hand on the fleshy part of the bottom, the gluteus maximus,
The legs, the arms.
Okay. But nowhere in the chest area,
head, definitely not the head,
or anywhere else of that nature. Okay. Now, we went through different forms of discipline where you can discipline your child, and we also discussed ways not to discipline your child. What type of state of mind a parent should be in, which is calm, not angry. If you're angry and you feel that you need to discipline your child, pause.
Walk away.
Send your child.
Take a time out.
You
take a time out.
take a time out. Absolutely.
You remember what the nurse told you when you had them. When they become stressful, lay them down and you walk away.
Yes.
Go breathe.
I've lived that. Yes.
Go breathe.
Yes.
Because it'll drive you to that point.
Right.
If you can't control it, walk away.
Children, you have to meditate. You have to pray. And you have to take a lot of deep breaths because they challenge authority.
Because they're learning.
They're learning. Absolutely. However, if discipline is done appropriately, you will be able to see the seeds of success. You'll be able to watch it grow.
That's cute.
I like that.
You like that? The seeds of success and watch it grow? Thank you, guys.
Really good.
See how we just empower each other?
Good, that Georgia clay.
Yeah.
With the Georgia clay.
The Georgia clay,
The
red clay.
You know, I heard you could eat that.
I had a cousin that ate it in front of me.
My mother said she ate it.
Oh.
She said it's not bad.
It was my first cousin.
So now she's going to go and get a bowl of it.
No, I mean, my cousin had a cup of it, a Coca-Cola cup of it at the skating rink. And I said, "What you doing?" And I nudged my mom. "What you doing?" She was like, "She about to eat the dirt." I said, they eat dirt down here.
It's clay. It's clay.
It's good for your skin.
It's good for you.
Yeah. So we hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Stay tuned for episode 10. We will let you guys know when it's out, but please check us out on iTunes and everywhere else our technician put us. But check us out.
Be a blessing.
Live, laugh, love.
Amen.